what the manufacturer wants to offer you and what the consumer gets could be two different things. We're going to talk today about the third-party company that's out there protecting the consumer. So when the manufacturer says their equipment gets a specific SEER rating, it's exactly what the consumer is going to get when it's installed. Stay tuned. ProCalcs University is coming at you. Hey, how's everybody? I'm Tom with ProCalcs University and ProCalcs. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas from our family to yours, and hope that all these videos we're providing to you help you to educate yourself, bring you many blessings in your businesses, and make sure that your consumers, that your end client is as happy as they possibly can be. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to everybody. Okay, so welcome back, and today we're talking about that third-party company that's going to protect the consumer from the manufacturer. Let's X that out. All right, so AHRI, Air Conditioning, Heating, Refrigeration Institute. We're going to show you how to use it. We're going to show you the different things that you can do to verify that what you are being suggested or offered from your HVAC installing company, that you're getting the combination. Now, as far as the capacity, when we take that equipment and we're getting it from the AHRI site, and we do this on every system because we want to make sure that the unit, the inside unit and the outside unit, are qualified systems. And what I mean by qualified system means that the manufacturer has put that air handler and that condenser together to determine what the BTU capacity and the SEER rating of that system will be using the AHRI standards, which is 95 degrees, 75 degrees, I believe. It's a constant temperature. So that's why having what's called a manual S is mandatory. Even after selecting the equipment on this website, it's mandatory because the manual S takes the equipment that we have, the combination, and virtually puts it in your location, at your elevation, at your humidity, at your temperature, in your home, basically, and says, okay, when we install it in this home, if it's installed correctly, this is what the BTU capacity truly is going to be. Now, SEER rating is a whole different thing, but that's why they've came out with the new policy about the new SEER 2, which starts, or depending on when you're watching this video, started January 1st, 2023, where the SEER ratings went changed a little different from SEER, S-E-E-R, to SEER 2. And what that did is kind of looked at more of the real world circumstances, that how it's going to be installed, the increased static pressure on the ductwork, and how systems function based on that, which basically took a 16 SEER and may have brought it down to a 14.3 or a 15.2, depending on the manufacturer, because of the increased static pressure and the real world installation. So let's go ahead and show you the website that we're on here, ahri.org. Okay, so ahri.org, and this will automatically pop up when you pump it in, when you put it in. And here, you're obviously not going to know the AHRI number unless the manufacturer, the installing contractor gives you that document, which they should. So if they're recommending a piece of equipment, a combination, or they're just being very generic and saying 16 SEER, 3-ton system, ask them for the model numbers, inside unit, outside unit, and actually ask them for the AHRI number, which can be a fairly long number, about 7 or 8 digits or something like that. We'll see here in just a minute. But if you go to this page, ahridirectory.org, you have this. If you have the reference number, the AHRI number, which you'll see here in a minute, you can just plug it right in here, okay? And you'll be able to see. If not, you can go here to product type. I'm going to show you how to use this. We use this every day. Every one of our designers uses it on every single solitary project we do, and we do 100 to 200 projects a month, depending on the month. So if we click on product type, click the drop down, and we're going to see, is it residential? Obviously, for most of you folks, it'll be residential. And then we're going to look, is it just a regular air conditioning system? Is it a furnace? Is it a heat pump? And we're going to look at this. We're going to go to air conditioning. We're just going to do air conditioning right now. And AHRI rating conditions or international rating. Well, we're going to look in the United States. That's what we're focused on. Okay, so we're going to click on that. And it's going to bring me to this page. Now, you can do the quick search again, put the AHRI number in here. You can go down and select the manufacturer. What I recommend is that you come right down here to conduct advanced search. Okay. And when you click on that, it's going to bring a lot of the same fields. But the one field for me, when I designed that I thought really helped, is I want to get rid of all of the systems that are not production stop. Because if I put conditions in, I may have 100 items listed, but 50% of them could be productive stopped. Well, if it's production stop, I may not be able to get it, and I don't really want to bother with it. This is the only page that I'm aware of that will allow you to choose that. So we want to select active. But a lot of the other columns and lines and whatnot are the same on either one of those pages. Now, I always teach my people, start with a very broad search. And the key with that is on this directory, if the wording or the model number is not typed in identical to what's on here, you will not find it. For instance, there's some air handlers that have an asterisk in the beginning. And if you don't put that asterisk, you'll never find it. Or they may have parentheses and there may be 2 letters in the middle with a comma, but if you try to type out the whole model number, you're not going to find it. So my recommendation is, if you have the model numbers, is to start off with just the beginning and slowly go through and look at how the website puts the numbers and rates them and lists them. And then from there, you can start fine tuning it. Now, AHRI takes the information from the manufacturer. So manufacturer has an air handler and a condenser, and they say it gets 3 tons and it's 16 SEER. Well, now AHRI will take that combination. They will confirm that it does get that BTU capacity and that it does get that SEER rating. Now it's SEER 2. And they will create a certification, a certificate that you'll see here in a minute, to basically say, hey, yes, we agree that this combination gets what you're saying. Now, from there, you have the manual S that you have to do, okay? Because I don't think I've ever found one piece of equipment in my 30 years of doing this. I've actually been using AHRI for about 25 years. But I've never found one piece of equipment that got the exact BTUs to the T of what is in AHRI. And because AHRI doesn't look at the different conditions, they don't do a manual S. They have a controlled environment that they have a set temperatures, inside, outside, set specific ranges, and that's what they test at. But just like anything, if architects or builders, HVAC companies are listening to this right now, what's on paper and what's in the real world are very seldom ever the same, especially when you're designing a house, designing an air conditioning system. They're not the same. So you have to be able to take that equipment now, and using the process called manual S, you're going to determine in that specific location, at that elevation, at that temperature, at that humidity, how is the system going to function? And that's the important, because I may on here say that it's a 35,000 BTU system, but when I do a manual S, the system only puts out 32,000 in that house in South Florida where the humidity is 1,002% and it's only 85 degrees outside. It's going to function differently than a house that is in Arizona that has no humidity, and all we're looking for is temperature control. So manual S is a must. But let's get back in here to AHRI. So for me, I start out as simple as possible when I look at this. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to, outdoor brand name would usually be who I would go with. And I would just start with one. So let's go down here and let's find Train. Right here. Now, that's all I'm going to do for up in here. If I don't know the model numbers, the indoor unit brand name or anything like that, I'm just going to, now I'm going to come down here to my cooling capacity 2. So this is probably what my new SEER 2, actually SEER 2 is going to be over here. So let's try this. Now this is as of 2020, and this goes up for earlier. But let's go over here to cooling capacity. So I don't really know what my capacity. Let's say they're trying to offer me a 3-ton system. Well, what I want to do is I don't want to just put 36,000 or 38,000. I want to give myself some range so that I have some, because that 36,000 BTU system may only put out 34,000. So my minimum, if I know that I'm looking for a 3-ton, maybe my minimum I'm going to put here is 32,000, and maybe my maximum over here I would put would be 38,000. Now here's my SEER 2, which is coming up January 2023. And let's say I want a minimum. I don't want anything less than 16. So I'm going to put 16. I'm not going to put anything else. So I'm looking for a unit, train manufacturer unit, that's 32,000 BTUs to 38,000, in that ballpark. This is what we do when we pick, and we want a minimum of 16. Okay? And then I'm going to start from here. Now, this is going to give me a lot of different options. But from there, I can start seeing how AHRI lists them to be able to then start slowly adding my numbers and narrowing down my list to find the exact systems that I want. So let's go ahead and show that up right now. So now I'm going to go ahead and click search. Now it may take a little bit, and there's a lot of times where the website's slow, it's locked up. Okay, so it came back and it showed us, look at all these combinations. Wow, that's a lot. We got high-end systems. We got ones, these are furnaces with coils on the inside. We have all kinds of stuff. But look, we can now see how, and remember that the commas and stuff that I was talking about. See, now we have an understanding of how they're listing the equipment. And that helps me as I type it out to be able to narrow it down. Okay. Now, I'm looking for 16 SEER. I'm not looking for anything super, super fancy. So knowing that it's 16 SEER, if I go to the train website, I know that if I don't want to go with anything, so I can go. I know that I got a 4TT, the V. If I go to the train website, it'll tell me that 4TTR can get me where I need to be without going to anything super, super extensive, like inverter systems or two-stage. So let me come back here and close my search fields. Now I'm going to go to my outdoor unit, and I'm just going to start typing in some numbers. So 4TTR. Now, I'm not going to type anything more, because what this is going to do is, you saw all those 4TTVs, it's going to take those out of my selection. So let's go ahead and click search again. It's going to get rid of all those other ones and just show me the 4TTRs. Okay. Now, when I go here, I'm thinking 16 SEER. So when I start looking, I see all this 16 SEER, 15 SEER here. Okay, because that's SEER 1. All right, and we're going to look for SEER 2. SEER 2 is over here. So what I'm looking for is which of these items are within the criteria of what I need. And it looks like, as I look through these, it looks like everything is 4TTR6, 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 4TTR6. And that, so that's one thing I know that I can narrow down. And notice how it's listed on here. All right, no commas, just spell it out. And I really don't need to put anything much past that right there. So that's what I would want to put in if I knew I was looking for 3-ton. And notice the different capacities: 34,600, 35,000, 35,000. These are all 3-ton systems. So here's one, 33.8. So what this one here is, this is a furnace. See, furnace model number and indoor. So this is the coil. Now, when you look at these, some of these will not have anything under furnace, and that's most likely because this is the condenser with some type of an air handler and no furnace. All right, so what we want to do is we just want an air handler. We're not looking at furnaces. We're going to do an air handler with electric heat strip. So again, you can go to the train website, or asking your HVAC company that's come out, you can go to the train website and look at the different air handler models to look at what the model numbers are for the air handlers. And most of their model numbers are all going to start with a T. And when we scroll down, and you'll know that from going on the train website, train.com, residential.com. So we scroll down and we look at these and go, okay, well, if I put a T in there, I could probably get rid of a lot of these combinations. Look at that. That's a lot of combinations. All right. So we could probably get rid of that. So these are all coils and furnaces, and we can tell that because here's a furnace, here's an indoor coil. So if I see that, I can tell that's not an air handler by itself, and then I can know that I want to get rid of that. So let's go back to the search field, and under the indoor unit, I'm just going to put a letter T, and I'm going to go back to search. Now it's going to get rid of all those other ones where the model number of the air handler, not a coil or a furnace, it's going to get rid of all of those and just show me the air handlers that start with the letter T. And you can see how, look, I got rid of a lot. Now here, there's still some furnaces with coils, and that's just because the model number of the coil ended up having a T to start with. So we want to narrow those out too. So what can we do to narrow those out? Let's look at all these ones that have a coil and a furnace, and let's notice the difference. So this is TA. Here's a TAMX, which would be air handler. Notice no furnace. So we want to go, okay, can we go 3 digits in? Well, maybe we don't know what the digits are. Well, what's a TAMX? I go to the train website, and I can look at it and see what that is. Well, we don't want a TAMX. All right, that's what we decided. We want a TEM. So anything that we get, we want a TEM. Okay, so we have TEM8s. Oh, but here's TAM9. Now, knowing from going on the manufacturer's website, I know that that's a high-end system, and that would be a potentially good air handler that we could use. All right, so I got a TAM, I got a TEM. Well, when I go up here to these are TAMXs. Well, I still may end up getting that, unless I'm going to put that number at the end. TEM6, TEM8. So I can get rid of those. And then I go down here. So let's start out. If we're looking for just a 16 SEER, when I go to, I can go in here and I can put, let's get rid of all the high-end stuff, and let's get rid of all the stuff that's not 16 SEER minimum. Let's see what happens there. So SEER 2, my minimum is 16. I don't know why it's still ranking. Let's put 16 SEER over here as well, just in case. And then I'm going to come over here and say, I don't want to go any higher than 16.5. All right. Now that's going to take out all that super high-end equipment that was 17, 18, 19 SEER. And let's click search. Look at that. Just by putting that in there, how much it narrowed down to only 2 systems. Now notice it gave us 16 SEER. I'm not sure why. It must be a glitch. If we set the SEER rating, it should not be giving us anything less than 16. Okay, but let's take this out, and maybe because it's not 2023 yet, maybe they haven't got that all set up yet. So let's go over here and let's put in that 32,000 we had. Let's put in that 38,000 we had. And let's put in a minimum of 16 SEER and a maximum of 16.5. Let's click search. Let's see what it does for us. Okay, so see that opened it up a little bit, but notice that's weird. It's still giving us a SEER rating higher than 16, which it shouldn't be. When you put the search criteria in there, it should be only giving you the 16 SEER that you want. So I'm not sure why that is there. But this will allow you to go in here and click search, and you can update these. So here's now 15. I click it again, and it's going to show me all the units that are 16 to 16.5, and then I can go down here and figure out what's the difference. So I go down here and I see that the start of 15, I can see what the model number of the air handler, TEM4, don't want that, TEM4. But here's the TEM6 that gets us 15.5. So what I'm doing is now I'm going through and I'm slowly pulling out the ones that I know I don't want. The TEM6 is a good unit. It's a metal cabinet. It's a good overall air handler, just midline. If you want something better, that's when you're going to go with the TEM8s, the TAM9s, and you can look that up on the Train website. When you go there, you'll be able to see the different models, and they're not going to give you the combinations, but they're going to at least let you know, and you're going to be able to look at it and say, okay, TAM9 is at the top of the list, so that's going to tell me, okay, that's probably the Mac Daddy air handler, the best one. And then I see the next one down. So, okay, TEM6 is kind of the middle of the line. So what I want to do, I'm going to come back up here to my search fields, and I'm just going to go in here in the air handler, and I'm going to add the EM6. And look at that. It got rid of a ton of them. And it left us with still some 15s and some 16s, which I don't know if there's a reason why, but usually before when I was in here, you put 16 in, it won't go lower than 16. So I'm not sure why they're showing up here. All right, so here's all these TEM6s. So what are we looking for? So here's the 16, 16, and notice the difference. My condenser is identical. The difference is my air handler. This one has a 3.5 ton air handler with a 3 ton condenser. Gets me 16. This one has got a 4 ton air handler on a 3 ton condenser and still gets 16 SEER. So why would we choose? And why? And here's one here. Here's the 3 ton. Same condenser, but only a 3 ton air handler. Well, you'd think 3 ton air handler with a 3 ton condenser, that makes sense, right? Or does it? And this is where having an HVAC design company who can look at these things and not just give you what they're trying to sell you, which is what a lot of these HVAC companies are doing. You know, if I get special discounts and rewards by selling a specific equipment through a specific manufacturer, I'm going to push the heck out of that. And I'm going to tell you it's the best thing since sliced bread. And as far as you think as a consumer, you're going to say, well, yeah, if he's promoting it so much, it must be great. Well, no, they're probably getting kickbacks. They're probably going to go to Vegas next year or someplace else. So having a third-party HVAC design company like ProCalcs do this is we don't care what brand you go with. We just want the right combination to get the best efficiency if we can. And if we need to value engineer later on because you're looking for something a little less cost, that's fine. But our first and main priority should be finding the right system, regardless of the brand, regardless of what's going on. All right. So when I look at this, I say, okay, well, the 3 ton unit only gets me 15.5. I want at least 16. And then look at the capacity. Now that capacity can completely change when we're doing the manual S. The manual S might come in and go, okay, even though AHRI and the manufacturers say that this unit's going to get 34,600, when I put it in the manual S, it may only get 32. Well, the load on the house may be 34, 35. I'm not going to use that system because that means if it gets on the hottest days, the system's not going to cool. And when it gets hotter than the typical hottest days, which is usually the top 1%, 5%, it's definitely not going to cool. So we may not look at that. We may look at this one. But when we put it into the manual S, all this may change. Now, with this unit, even though it's still 16 SEER, the same as this, it gets a higher BTU capacity. When I put that into manual S may say that added value between the 34.8 and the 35.2, maybe that's all additional humidity control. Maybe because the bigger air handler's got a bigger coil, which isn't always the fact. There could be bigger air handlers that have the same size coil. Maybe the blower's different or something. And I need to say, okay, if I need more CFMs and this one here doesn't get it for me, and I use this one, and this one also has more latent capacity because I'm in South Florida and I got 4 billion% humidity, I'm going to need a bigger air handler to control that humidity level. So that's why HVAC design is so important. And just looking at these systems, you'd be like, wait a minute, 3 different air handlers with 3 different with the same condenser, actually 4. I even got a 2.5 ton that matches with the 3 ton condenser. Wow, that's even crazier. Why do we have 4 different air handlers, 2.5, 3, 3.5, and 4 with a 3 ton condenser? Why? And it's because of if you're designing the system, you have to have options. And the 3 ton may not work. The 2.5 ton may, because of the humidity control and the temperature control and the fan speeds and different things like that, the CFMs that they can put out. And that's a huge deal when it comes to designing. But AHRI is a very simple tool to go in. Once you get the hang of it, you can go in and really start picking and choosing. And as a homeowner, even if you don't know, I can go in here and I didn't even know these model numbers. If I clear all this stuff out, you look at what other things can I do? Here's the SEER rating 16. I have the SEER rating over here I can put. I can even choose the region. There are some manufacturers that their ratings, you'll notice. Let's actually go back in here and let's put that in there. Let's do the 4 TTR let's do that to a 6. Let's do the TEM 6. Okay, let's go back and select this. And because I want to show you the report that this pulls out. So every one of these units, see, now it did the SEER rating. Every one of these units has an AHRI certified reference number. Okay, and you can see some of them here are a little smaller, and some of them, which are the newer systems, are quite a bit longer. But what we're doing is we say, okay, I want a 16 SEER. I'm able to get that with a 2.5 ton air handler. Let's say that that's acceptable. Let's say we do the design and we don't need a lot of CFMs, and this one meets the latent capacity, sensible capacity, meets everything that we want. We can now go in here and click this button, click this colored number here. And what it's going to do is it's going to create an AHRI certificate. Let's go ahead and save that. And now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to open that up. And here is the certificate that it provides. Let me make myself a little smaller here. My big head out of the way. Okay. So something you'll notice here is that it tells you the region. What areas is this product available for, or that this rating covers? And you'll notice not every single unit be in there? I'm reading this, is every state in there? Is every location? It says U.S. territories. It doesn't specifically say Northeast or Northwestern, but it has all the ratings. And this is the certificate. So what this is doing is it's verifying that the manufacturer said that this condenser, the outside unit, with this air handler, the inside unit, gets, with this number, gets 16 SEER, 13 EER. If you go back and watch some of the videos, you'll see the difference of that, at 34,000 BTUs. Notice it says 95 degrees outside. So it's a constant temperature outside, constant temperature inside. But that's the reason why the manual S is so important, because it's not always going to be 95 degrees. It may be elevation higher, humidity higher or lower, and that's a key. But this is the certificate. Now, this certificate says here, eligible for federal tax credit. You could probably get a tax credit off of that. But this is the document that gets printed. We send this with every design we do so that the consumer, our client, knows that the equipment that we've selected does meet the certificate. And when it gets brought to the building department, they will require this document. If they don't have this document, they fail it. So it's important for us from the design aspect to make sure that we're using this and submitting it with our paperwork to make it that much easier on our client. So once we select that, then we know that we have in place. Now, let's say we needed something with a little more CFMs. Okay, gives me 16 SEER still, 34.2, slightly different air handler number or condenser number at the end. All right, and you'll notice the difference here. You got 36 and 35, and some of that is just that they reclassified the units to, and they do this a lot to try to tweak the SEER ratings or BTU capacities. You'll see that a lot in the units. Why? It's technical stuff on, if they have to change something inside, they'll change that little number and value, and they're constantly up doing things. And that's why you have all these different numbers, is because they've made that many combinations over the years. And when things go out of production, that rating sticks with that product forever. So they need to create a new one. And that's going to happen here with the new SEER 2, is all of the equipment that the manufacturers have had before in the past, every single one of them is going to have a new AHRI certificate number as they reevaluate and reprocess these. And even if they come out with a new grill color or something and it changes the model number of the unit, any one of these model numbers here, if this J turned to a K, if this H turned to a G or something, they would have to reissue that to AHRI with that. Even though everything is probably 100% the same, they're going to have to reissue that with a different certificate number because the model numbers have changed. And all the model numbers are specifically related to the AHRI form. So great place to start, an easy place for you to find. Now, you can play around with this. Sometimes I'll go in and tweak some things, but I find that the more I put in here when it comes to all this garbage up here, the more I put into that, sometimes the less feedback I get. It makes it more difficult in the beginning, but then I can start slowly narrowing things down. I can narrow, like I see, okay, anything that I want is going to be greater than 34 now that I've gone and looked online and saw everything. So when I click search, it may get rid of now everything that was below 34. Okay, or maybe I'm saying, you know what, I can't go 34. I can only do something that's 35 or greater. Well, I mean, I only have 5 selections here, so it's narrowed it down quite a bit. But start out a little bit bigger and go in here. And see, notice I didn't put much in here. Most of the stuff is self-explanatory. Now, next year in 2023, or even so, we can go in here and say, okay, I'm not looking for anything over here. I only want stuff that's in the SEER 2 because I'm going to buy this next year. And I'm going to get rid of this, and I only want something that's 17. And I don't want to end. So let's go to search, click search, and look at that. Why it's showing 16 when I put 17 in, I have absolutely no clue. But notice it narrowed it down to only 3. And what did I put up here? So see, I have a 4TTR6. Let's take that 6 out of there and see what it does. It's going to open up my search criteria. Didn't open it that much more. But I got 16 SEER minimum, SEER 2. Again, why? I know why. Because I probably can't get 17 SEER with a 4 TTR6. So let's go back here and we got rid of the 6. Let's get rid of the TEM 6. Let's just put a T and let's see what it does. Wow, opened up. Give me a lot more options. See, it threw this one back in there. We don't want that. Let's say if we want to put that TAM 9 in there, which the TAM 9 is a higher end air handler communicating. So we put that TAM 9 in there, and we click on search. And look at that. We only have 4 options. Again, still giving me less than 17, even though I put 17 in for the SEER 2, but it gives me an idea that that these combinations will get me to where I need to be. Here I'll tell you what the energy rating guide is. You can click on that, and it'll show you that listing. And then a lot of these other things, it shows you where they're located here, your region, all regions. So I don't have to matter. Some of them, if you're in California, you can. If you're in Washington State, it won't be good for that. But here it tells us that all of these are good for all of the regions. North, south, east, west, doesn't matter. Again, the capacities here, the airflows, and these airflows really don't mean anything until the manual S is done. Because each of these units, what this is telling you here is in order for them to check the SEER rating, to get this capacity, these are the CFMs that they set the unit to. But if your house doesn't need 1135 and that air handler is capable of still doing 900, and that's what I need at 900, it's going to change the capacity. And that's where this AHRI is an amazing tool to use alongside of the manual S. So once you find the equipment, you're going to play around with that manual S to see what that equipment does in the real world. And sometimes you got to go back and you got to get a different combination. Maybe I just can't use those air handlers and I have to go to a different condenser, or I have to go stay with that condenser and go with a different air handler. Or maybe I got to scrub that manufacturer altogether because I cannot find, I need 3 tons, but I can't find a 3 or a 3.5 ton unit from that manufacturer that gives me the moisture control that I need. So we start with the AHRI, even us, we start with the AHRI, and then we work down from there to say, okay, here's a good combination. Let me put it in the manual S. Let me determine with the right CFMs that the house needs, with the BTU capacity that the house needs, I want to make sure that the system will work. And then if I got to go back to the drawing board and I got to look for some other options. And that's what you see here. It gives me all these options. So I can start putting these into our software and do a manual S on them and say, okay, which is going to be the best bang for the buck for the consumer and get the capacities that we need. And that's key. So if you're watching this, nice little quick video to talk about AHRI, don't forget to go to ahri.org or directory.org, and you can play around with this yourself. There's a lot of great tools out there for homeowners to be able to go, and architects and builders to go in and verify that what their contractor is giving them is actually what is really what's really there. And it's not, well, I had this air handler sitting in my warehouse and I'm going to match with this condenser. Well, those two units don't match. There's not a certificate rating with them. So it's important that you make sure you get this certificate as the end user to make sure that the system is being done properly for you. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and put them in the comments below. And again, as you already saw, don't forget to click that like button, click subscribe. Make sure on the bell you click the one at the top that says for all, because there may be different content that you may not think that you're interested in, but you watch it and go, wow, that actually makes a lot of sense. And we're going to keep coming through here with all kinds of videos to help educate you at ProCalcs University. And hey, if you're watching this video after Christmas, Merry Christmas to you, a Happy New Year to you, and I hope that you have a blessed day.